Welcome inside episode 492 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains on a Senators game day. Ottawa hosts the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight in what could be the biggest revenge game we've ever seen.
Can Matt Murray get his first win up against the Pittsburgh Penguins? Will the boys keep their winning streak going from the All-Star break? We're going to find out tonight. And we got another great interview for you guys tonight. Jacob Bernard Docker joins us. He talks about playing with Thomas Chabot, playing up and down between Ottawa and Belleville, and having a handful of other Sens prospects with him with Nodak in the NCAA.
We have completed the quadrant of Nodak Sens. Speaking of them, Jake Sanderson will give you an Olympic update with him as the men's tournament is officially underway. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Thursday, February 10th. And Pilsy, my advice to Matt Murray today is keep those two Stanley Cups plugged in your ears. Forget all the noise. Go out there and play a good game.
Yeah, and the boys are going to have some money on the board for him. His first chance to get a win up against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
First game.
Yeah, if you're Matt Murray, like, you definitely want to stick it to these guys. I mean, basically they decided, hey, we got Tristan Jarry, we got Casey DeSmith. It's been a bad year for you, so we're just going to ship you out, and we're going to be happy with the tandem here. And Matt Murray has a chance to show them, hey, maybe I've been down and out a bit, but I'm on a hot streak now with the Ottawa Senators, and you better look out because I think we see a big game from him here.
Real hot streak for Matt Murray. We pulled this graphic up the other day, but in case you missed it, Matt Murray now 14 games into his season. And in his last 7 games, he has exactly 0 regulation losses, sitting at 5-0-2 with a .942 save percentage. That is a far cry from his .883 save percentage and his 0-6-0 record from his first 7 games this season. Truly a remarkable turnaround. And if there's one thing that I worry about, it is that extra pressure coming from externally. Right? Knowing that, oh, this is the team that traded me. I almost would rather it be the Hurricanes again or another top team in the NHL. Get anybody but Pittsburgh, especially on a night where Sidney Crosby can and probably will make history.
499 goals for Sidney Crosby right now, and it would be the most Sens thing ever to allow him to score his 500th up against them. So that's got to be goal number 1. Sure, you want to get Matt Murray the win, but do not allow Crosby to get goal number 500, Ross, because perfectly tied, ironically enough, the Sens have allowed another superstar who's very tied closely to Sidney Crosby to get his 500th goal against them, and we cannot have that happen again.
No, Alex Ovechkin scored twice in his quest to 500 goals in 2016, I think it was, against Andrew Hammond. And Washington won that game 7-1. So let's hope for better fortune in tonight's game. Okay, we got more of that game to preview. You mentioned the intro. We've got Jacob Bernard Docker coming up on today's show. We also have a few news and notes. So we're going to do those news and notes right now, get to the interview, finish up with a preview of tonight's game. I'm also heading to see Ridley Gregg, boots on the ground in Winnipeg tonight. So fired up for that. But no Evgeny Malkin tonight. He's in COVID protocol. No Jason Zucker either. And the Senators dodge another bullet on Saturday and next Saturday as Brad Marchand just earned a 6-game suspension. So the Senators, they're dodging some stars around the league. Got to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, that Brad Marchand incident, that's well deserving of that suspension.
Against Pittsburgh, too.
So it's nice when the teams you're going up against the rest of the week beat each other up and kind of, make things easier on you as the week goes on. But I mean, that sucker punch to the head, that is just wild. And obviously Marchand, he's known for his antics, but that's definitely crossing the line. Although, Ross, what was your opinion on Jarry trying to toss a puck over the glass to a Pittsburgh fan and Marchand knocking it off his stick and saying, no, we're in my building. You don't get to hand out souvenirs when you're at TD Gardens. That's what I do. I thought that was fun and like villainous enough
Right.
without crossing any lines, right? But then I don't know what Jari said to him or what went on during the game, because Marchand had it out for him the rest of the night.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Hey, as long as he's giving away 2 pucks after, right? You can't keep it away from the fans like that. But if he wants to be a villain, which we know he does, then that's all right.
You gotta pay the price sometimes.
I've hated, his on ice antics ever since. Remember, he lowballed Mark Borowiecki, took him out at his knees earlier on in his career. Those plays are just unacceptable, and he did
except
that
when he's wearing a Team Canada jersey like he got in the back, eh?
Exactly. We'll get to some Olympic stuff coming up here. As we're recording, Team USA is dominating China, shocker, but I am having serious FOMO because Jake Sanderson has not joined the team yet. We got a bit lost in time zones, but I think we figured it out that he's going to get in about 12 hours before Canada plays USA on Friday morning. So tomorrow morning, we saw his Instagram post. He was at the LA airport flying to Beijing yesterday in our time zone. We're not living in the future just yet, but I am excited in the future to see Jake Sanderson participate in these Olympic Games. And I hope it's sooner than later. Like a Habs prospect just got a hat trick for Team USA. We need to match that with some Jake Sanderson smooth, silky play, and we will. Speaking of smooth, silky play, I guess we can tease Monday's interview now as well.
Yeah, Ross, you didn't exactly do a secret keep it on the low down job of holding back Chabot. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we had a massive day yesterday. Craig Minaglia, Thomas Chabot, Jacob Bernard-Docker. Like I'm still riding the high from that day. Like 3 interviews that all were people we haven't talked to before and people that have been on our list for a while. So that was an absolute blast. You guys, I think everyone's going to love the Craig interview. If you haven't already listened, go back to yesterday's. Awesome. And don't listen to, just watch. I think that's one of the ones where I think it's worth to watch on YouTube because we had a lot of laughs. We had a lot of fun going back to the nostalgic days. And then you said it, Ross, our biggest guest ever, probably Thomas Chabot. This is a guy we've been working on getting for quite a while, and we finally got him, and we had some great chats with him for sure.
Yes, definitely. He even gave us a little something to tee up Jacob Bernard-Docker for. You'll hear that today. So when you hear Pillsy say, we talked to Thomas Chabot, it's not going to be a huge surprise because you're like, we haven't heard that yet. That's coming on Monday's show because Sens fans were so great yesterday. We set a goal to get to 1,500 subscriptions on YouTube, and we were almost 72 away. It was a nice little tease where
I don't think anyone caught on to that,
One
Ross.
did.
Mitch. One did?
Shout out Mitch DM. He goes, 72, eh?
Yeah.
So that was good stuff there. And hey, we end up getting to that goal in a heartbeat, which just speaks the credit to Sens fans. And that means Thomas Chabot Monday on Locked On Senators. The awesome part too, and knock on wood, nothing goes wrong. There's 3 games in between, but on Monday or Tuesday, the Senators' next game following their 3 and 4 at the end of the weekend will be Thomas Chabot's 300th NHL game. So that's a nice little milestone for him and for us to get him on the show. So stay tuned for all that and more. All right, Pillsy, what do you say we get to Jacob Bernard-Docker? Because both these guys, Chabot and JBD, both first-round picks, are 6th and 7th first-round picks on this show. And he was awesome. Like, I feel bad. We interviewed him a week after he had 6 teeth loosened. He tells us that story about how they set his teeth back into his gums. Lots of great stuff coming up with JBD. Before we get to that, and then a preview on the other side, quick word from our friends at BetOnline. There might be less football being played. Super Bowl week is upon us, but BetOnline.net has way more odds and info for Super Bowl season. From scores, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline is the #1 spot for all things NFL betting in 2022. And it's not just football. BetOnline.net has basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC odds coverage. They're the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline is your #1 online wagering destination. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, now here he is, Senators defenseman Jacob Bernard-Docker. All right, we now welcome a very, very special guest. Born and raised in Canmore, Alberta, his hockey journey took him through Okotoks before being a first-round pick of your Ottawa Senators in 2018. Then he attended, yes, the University of North Dakota, where he spent 3 seasons, becoming an assistant captain in the final one, winning a Penrose Cup. And now he's splitting time between the Ottawa and Belleville Senators. Jacob Bernard Docker, welcome to Locked On Senators, man. How you doing today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Doing good.
We're awesome. Great to hear. We got a lot to get into, especially you complete all 4 Nodak Sens. How crazy was that? All 4 of you guys play on the same team, knowing that your NHL rights were going in the same spot.
It was pretty nuts. I think, a cool experience for all of us. Obviously we all aspire to be part of the Sens one day. So if all 4 of us get to play, for the Sens at the same time, that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I could definitely see that happening, and all the Sens fans are hoping for that too. Now, when Sanderson and Clevin, it was their draft year, and Sanderson gets drafted to the Sens, and then Clevin, it's coming around the second round pick. The Sens trade up to get him. Were you guys thinking like, okay, hopefully he gets taken by the Sens here, and all of us can play here? Like, were you guys all kind of connected together on that day?
Yeah, we were. I remember that day because we were at the rink.
Yeah, he had everyone there at the rink with him. Yeah.
So for Sandy's pick, we were all up in the crowd, and then after the first round, we all kind of went down to the lounge area and we're watching on TV. And I remember someone just saying like it'd be funny if they picked Clev, obviously when they traded up, just kind of as a joke. And then when it happened, everyone was freaking out. So it's exciting times.
You're the OG Nodak Sen, though. 2018 yes. Pick, Pinto in 2019, and then the other boys in 2020. But let's rewind the clock. We'll get a little more into that. We always like starting off at the very beginning. You're born and raised in, I think, Pilsey's favorite place on planet Earth, Canmore, Alberta. Beautiful out there. Why hockey? I mean, was it ever skiing, snowboarding, or were you always just locked in that you were going to be a hockey player?
No, it was honestly skiing. I didn't snowboard, but I skied a lot growing up. My brother and dad were snowboarders, but did a lot of that growing up. And I guess I just got to that age where, couldn't really do both anymore. Probably, I'd say around grade 9, probably had to stop skiing and really focus on hockey. So, but I was lucky enough to do a lot of that growing up.
When was it that you really fell in love with the game of hockey? Like you mentioned your parents and siblings, were they a big factor in your love of the game? And how old were you when you were like, okay, this isn't just like something fun, like I'm obsessed with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think for as long as I can remember, I think I've always loved it. My mom put me in hockey. I think I was probably 4 years old. So it was her decision. And, she always wanted me to be a goalie because she thought I'd get injured less that way, but
Well, I mean, she may be right now with the injury you just had. If you were playing Tendy, hopefully that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, she texted me. After the game, I picked up my phone and saw a text, and she said, "Why are you not wearing a cage anymore?" And I just kind of started chuckling because I had to wear a bubble for one game there, but after the teeth stabilized, they kind of let me go back to the visor just because every time I get knocked in the cage or the bubble, I guess it would kind of come up and almost make it worse because it would hit my chin.
Oh.
So actually being in the visor just made it more bearable. So was just hoping not to get poked in the teeth again.
Yeah, no doubt. So what do you remember from that play? You're just kind of battling for a puck. Stick comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, all I remember, honestly, is just like a flash. I just remember seeing a stick just like tomahawking towards my face. And
not ideal.
Before I knew it, I was grabbing my mouth and had a towel going in the room. And I won't describe too much more because it gets kind of gross, but it was pretty red.
Yeah, no doubt. They said it. I think Manor said you almost lost 6 teeth. Was it? How many did you actually get chucked?
Yeah, only one came clean out, and I caught it in my hand as I was leaving the ice. But
good hand-eye coordination. Damn.
I chipped 2, and then there was like 4 on the top and 3 on the bottom that were just kind of hanging on by strings. So I went to the dentist, or not went to the dentist. Literally had the dentist at the game, which was pretty lucky. So was on the table for an hour and a half after that, and they were throwing those teeth and whatever kind of solution they put them in to let them reabsorb into my gum.
Jesus. Feeling all right now, though? We're going on, what, 5 days later?
Yeah, it's a lot better now, obviously. Eating's a struggle. I take like literally 45 minutes to eat every meal of the day. So
jeez. You're not on the Sanderson smoothie diet?
Hey?
You're not on Jake Sanderson's smoothie diet? Everyone's telling us this guy's every morning up and making the smoothies at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know he was on a smoothie diet. I know he's got a pretty regimented schedule, but
yeah.
Man, let's get into North Dakota, because you
Yes.
end up playing there 3 seasons, and I'm just curious about what drew you there. Was that always your first choice coming out of the junior A system in Canada?
I mean, it was right up there for me. Honestly, I didn't know a whole lot about colleges when I first started, and then took a few tours, and North Dakota was, I think, actually the last tour that I took. And I think just everything about it caught my eye, and I think especially the staff there, and just the people in the organization, I think were probably the biggest reason. But obviously the facilities and the rink were, a factor in it as well. But yeah, those were 3 years that I'll never forget.
Did you have any kind of thoughts of going the junior hockey route, or was it always, I want to go to college?
I think for me, it was just trying to leave as many doors as open as I could early on. Like I didn't think, me and my parents talked about, I was drafted to Swift Current, and I went to the camp there for, I think, 2 years, but there was just no point in me at 16 years old signing there and, maybe not playing a lot and not getting as much opportunity. And then I just closed the door to every college team. So for me, I knew I was, going to play a lot more in Okotoks for that 16-year-old year. And then just kind of ended up taking off from there.
Yeah, and so now you get to UND. It's one of the most prestigious programs in college hockey. What were your first impressions when you finally arrive there and you start, playing with the team? You meet the coach and all the staff, and you get kind of settled into the system there. How was your first impression?
I think, something that I didn't realize is like when you go in there as a recruit and you see all these nice facilities, and for some reason, you kind of just think, I'm going to be on some good teams, some winning teams. Everything's going to be easy. And I kind of got in there. My first year, we struggled. And I think it really just kind of showed you that it doesn't matter facilities you have. You got to put in the work. And
right.
I think that's something that North Dakota taught me, was just that everyone that goes through there has a blue collar mentality. And if you don't, it's pretty hard to last. So I think that was pretty big for me.
And is that personified by Coach Brad Berry? I feel like that's the way he played the game back in his day too.
Absolutely. It's something that the entire coaching staff stressed, and they were awesome for my development, and just really helpful in every area of my game. And, these coaches, Dane Jackson and Carl Gehring, they'd stay out after practice every day with you if you wanted to work an extra half an hour on something. Like they'd come up with drills right on the spot for you, and do video and so on. So they were awesome.
Man, and then you guys ultimately build a great team. When did you know it was starting to get together there as you led into your sophomore? You guys improve, and then ultimately you win the Penrose Cup in 2020.
Yeah, we won it my sophomore and my junior year.
There you go. Double down.
Yeah, I guess you don't really know until you start playing, right? Like you think in the summer, we're going to be. Yeah, I knew we'd be better than my freshman year just based on most guys coming back, but you never really know, I guess, until you start playing. And I think just one thing that I'll remember from those two teams is just how tight we were as a group. I think that was probably the biggest reason that we had so much success, is just because we were so tight, and not necessarily just because of the skill level.
Yeah, and you guys, it showed on the ice that you were a tight group. And just how confident were you guys in that 2020 season when COVID shut everything down? Like, if that season goes on and you get to finish out the year, like, you guys must have been thinking a deep run is going to happen here, right? Like, Pinto said it himself when he left, when that happened, there was unfinished business there.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason, a lot of guys decided to come back that maybe could have left that year. And obviously it didn't quite work out for us. The following year we got close, but with those 1-game eliminations, you just never know. It's never a guarantee. So that was definitely a heartbreaker. I remember when the season got shut down there that first day, I remember getting a text, and I was kind of I didn't really know what to think. And I showed up at the rink thinking, maybe in a few weeks they'll resume it. No big deal. And I showed up, and a bunch of the seniors were crying in the lounge, and it was just, it just got pretty emotional, because you realize it was those guys' kind of last kick at the can, and they didn't really even get a chance at it. So lucky enough for me, I got to come back for another year.
Yeah, and you guys certainly made the most of it. Like, what are you going to do, 5 overtimes? Like, were you one of the guys crushing IVs or Diet Cokes in the locker
room? Mustard packs too, yeah.
Yeah, what's going on in the locker room there between the 4th and 5th overtime?
Yeah, there was a few IVs. I know I didn't get one. There was a few guys that got them, but there was only a limited amount. So, and I remember there.
Didn't you play almost an hour?
Yeah, I think I did play an hour. I was cramping like crazy. Yeah, I remember after the third overtime, just every time I stepped on the ice, I get a calf cramp. It was just inevitable. But I'll never forget like the scene in between periods of guys, just everyone had like 10 water bottles finishing their stalls and gummies and Cokes and bananas and just everything you can think of, just trying to fuel up and keep going. I think we're still playing around 1 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, it was obviously tough to lose that game, but cool experience.
So then how was the process for you after? You have to, really think about what your future is going to hold, and especially coming off such an emotional game and such a long season, unprecedented. What went into your decision to ultimately sign your ELC with the Sens?
Yeah, like you said, it's tough. Obviously you're emotional that next day. And I think my first reaction was, man, I got one more year. Like, I'm going to do this again and hopefully get farther and get the ultimate, national championship. But I think after a few days, just kind of thinking about it and, talking it through with, my coaches and then my agent and the Sens, and kind of just came to the decision that it was time to move on and get my pro career started. So that definitely made it a little bit easier because, that I think 3 days later, I'm on a plane to Ottawa and don't really have time to think too much about the loss and kind of just get right back into it. So that definitely made it a little bit easier to swallow.
So wait, who signed first? Was it you or Pinto? I remember there was like a day between you guys.
Yeah, I did first.
Yeah.
And then, he did, I think, the following day.
Just to follow in your footsteps, eh? He was ready, though. When you snapped back 19 for 19, what was it like? Do you remember that game where he went perfect in the dot? Like, that's got to be...
I don't actually remember the game, but I do remember someone saying that after the game, and I couldn't believe that.
Well, for you, it's probably just ho-hum. Like, he wins every draw no matter what. Like, It's just a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We always ask, we asked the other guys, what's the biggest hit you've seen Tyler Kleven throw? I don't know if you saw the one from last weekend as well. This guy's a devil out there.
Yeah, there was probably one too many to remember, honestly. It seems like every other game someone's getting blown up. So it's fun to watch, and obviously like having a guy like that on your team just creates space for other players. So it's he's a heavy body. He's not afraid to use it.
Yeah, probably a little bit different than how Jake Sanderson plays the game. Before we move on, I want to get into your pro career as well. But like, how would you describe to somebody who's, let's say, a casual Sens fan, they hear they've got this prospect at North Dakota. How would you describe how Jake Sanderson plays the game?
I mean, I think he just does everything right. I think everything probably starts and stems from his skating. He's such a good skater. And, I think on top of that, like, there's lots of guys that are good skaters and typically maybe they grow up the fastest kid and don't really have to think that much, but Sandy's kind of different that way. He's fast, but he's also probably the smartest player on the ice. So I think just those two things combined just allow him to do a lot of elite playmaking, and he's a great defender as well. So
Pilsy, I forgot when we interviewed Jake Sanderson, he was in JVD's dorm room. He had the big Canada flag in the background. We're like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, he's living in my room that I lived
Still
in
is.
last year.
Okay.
So that to say, we heard or we read, I think it was Wayne Scanlon's piece. You left a couple of trophies under the bed. What's that story?
I don't think I did that.
Man, Sanderson, there's a quote. I'm reading it right now. He said there's I think it's NCHC Defenseman of the Week trophy and maybe a different one. You just slide under the bed. Doesn't deserve a spot in the shelf.
I didn't know that, if that's true. I just I cleaned out my room and left him my bed, my TV, my dresser, and that was it.
That's awesome. So wait, are you cheering for Canada at the Olympics for men's hockey, or are you going to give a little shout out to your boy too?
I mean, I think I'm Canadian. I'm going to cheer for Canada, but I obviously want Sandy to do well.
Yeah.
Silver medal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Well, hey, you got a chance, speaking of the international stage, before your first full pro season, you got a chance to go overseas last spring. What was that experience like playing against men at the World Championships?
Yeah, I think it was pretty eye-opening for me. I mean, obviously our team, we struggled to start, and I think it kind of just, taught me a lesson. And I remember, Roberto Luongo coming in at the start of the tournament. He said, I guarantee you the tournament is not going to go how you think it will. And when you face adversity at some point, and he said it will come at some point, we've got to be ready for that and just be able to respond. And obviously a lot of things didn't go the way we wanted to off the start, and kind of just ended up turning things around. And I think the team building and a few more practices under our belt really helped us. Obviously, I think we only had like 3 practices before we started the tournament, so a whole new group of guys together is pretty tough when you're first starting there. But that was a really good experience for me.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, is a new group of guys, but there's some chemistry between Connor Brown and Nick Paul for that golden goal. What was that like being a part of that moment, especially when those are your colleagues and 2 teammates in Ottawa?
Yeah, they've got great chemistry.
Amazing chemistry.
I think as soon as I saw that 2-on-1 developing, I kind of knew it was over. So that was an awesome moment. Obviously, those are 2 guys that helped me a lot when I first came in last year with the Sens, and kind of helped me made me feel a little more comfortable. And then just going overseas with them was really cool, and kind of just furthering that relationship.
Yeah, it's awesome. You guys had a couple staff there too, if I'm not mistaken, some trainers and equipment guys. So it had to be good to get some familiarity with them too. And coming back with a gold medal never hurts either. And now you're like, 37 games, if I'm doing the math right, into your pro career. What's been the biggest adjustment, and where do you think you've improved the most through those 35 games?
Yeah, I think probably my biggest improvement has just been my stick and my gaps and skating. Defensively, it's a little bit different, I'd say, than North Dakota. I think I was pretty blessed those last 2 years. We had the puck a lot. We had a really good team. And to be honest, I didn't have to play a whole lot of like really hard defense, like where we're getting pinned in our own zone. And not to say that we're getting pinned in our own zone when I'm in Ottawa or Belleville, but it's just a little bit different that way. And you got bigger guys in the corner. And I think that's probably the biggest area of improvement for me, is just closing my gaps and trying to be aggressive on guys that way.
Yeah, and you mentioned playing between Ottawa and Belleville, and I'm interested to hear your take on this. Like, what's the transition like? And I don't mean from league to league. Like, obviously, the NHL, it's the number 1 league in the world, and the AHL, there's a lot of different challenges there. But I mean more like coaching wise, like when you're going from Belleville to Ottawa and back and forth, do the coaches communicate and they kind of tell each other about you and what they expect from you, and to kind of make that transition a little more seamless? Or what's that like when you're constantly going up and down and changing coaches and changing defensive partners and everything like that?
Yeah, no, they do a really good job of communicating, and obviously they're in constant contact with prospects in Belleville and guys getting called up and down, and especially in a COVID year, I think with so many call-ups happening that they're on the same page. And I'd say just in terms of like the game, it's a little bit different. Obviously, I think in the American League, it's a bit more scrambly, and at least I find when you have the puck, maybe in the NHL it might be a little bit easier just because guys are always in the right spot. And in the American League, it's just a bit of a different game, and probably a little more physical. Like, I feel like going back for pucks, I probably get hit quite a bit more in the American League. So, I mean, there's a few differences, but and I guess, obviously the elite NHLers are, they're the top guys for a reason. They've got that high end speed, but and smarts. But other than that, it's the coaching staff does a really good job just helping you transition.
What's really cool about that, especially in your situation where when you've been up in Ottawa for most of it, you've got a chance to play with Thomas Chabot. And when we speak to Thomas, he brings up getting to play with Erik Karlsson when he came into the league. And now he's the one kind of teaching you, Lassie, Branny, those guys, what the ropes are. Like, how has your relationship with Thomas gotten along here as you've been more and more comfortable and getting more games beside him?
Yeah, it's been awesome. And he took me in when I first came out of college last year. I lived with him. So he treated me really well, and kind of just, like you said, took me under his wing, and has taught me a lot. And I love when, like, I'll come off the bench and I'll be like, sorry, Chevy, like, should have done this or should have done that. And he said, don't worry about it, man, just go make plays. And I think that's that's the cool thing about Shabby is he's just trying to help you get better. And he's always just kind of telling me to shrug it off and not worry about it too much. And I think that's something I'm kind of taking from him. Probably a reason he's such a good pro is he's able to just leave plays behind him and move on to the next. And just know that everything's not going to go your way in a game. And you got to just be able to move on to the next shift and, keep making plays and not lose your confidence just because you make a mistake.
Yeah, and we just spoke to Thomas Chabot today, actually, and we asked him what it was like playing with you guys, and he said, yeah, that's the one thing I tell him is don't think a minus or a bad pass or something is going to define your career. You got lots of time to make up for it, and that was great. And last question for me here, Jacob, and thanks for joining us. This has been awesome. We talked to Chabot and we asked if he had any dirt on you, and he said, ask him if he's got his pillow with him. You got your pillow with you on the road here. He said the boys are having a good laugh when you went on the road with them, and you were the only guy that had the pillow on the plane. Which also, I don't blame you. Your pillow is a big part of getting a good night's sleep, so there's no shame in that at all.
Your team pillow, eh?
Team pillow.
I didn't think it was that crazy that I brought a pillow on the road, but I guess all the guys did, and some of the coaches even got in on it. So I don't know. It's just a pillow that I got a while back. I think my mom got it for me. It's one of those bamboo pillows, and it's just so comfortable that like some of those hotel pillows are just so soft and
you never know what you're going to get with a hotel pillow. Yeah,
exactly. There's no support. And anyways, I got the guys were making fun of me for a road trip or two, so I kind of stopped doing that and just started sucking it up.
No way.
Do you have it with you now, though? Do you have it with you now?
Well, I'm going to be honest. It's maybe a little bit of the bullying, but I think it's mainly is such a pain in the arse to just carry around all the time. Like it was just I couldn't fit it in my suitcase, so I just had to just lug it.
You need one of those like backpackers, like you're going around Europe, and just tie it onto that.
Yeah, so that was getting a little annoying. So that's probably the main reason I stopped.
That's amazing, man. That's awesome, Jacob. Well, really appreciate you taking some time with us today. I got a final question for you as well, and that's your game in Calgary this season. Your parents got to be there, the whole family. Take us through the moments, because you've been kind of in and out of the lineup at that point, and then when you found out you were going to play in that game, and how great it was to have so many of your family members there.
Yeah, that was sweet. I don't think I've been that nervous. I don't know why I was so nervous. It's just my family, but and friends, I guess. And but I don't think I've been that nervous for a game since probably like the World Junior Final. And just I guess I was just really excited. I think that was the first time my parents have been able to see me live, just with all the COVID stuff and being in my hometown. Obviously I had a lot of my good buddies there and family friends. So that was a night I'll never forget for sure.
Who was behind the t-shirts?
That was my mom's friend.
Because we got to talk about the logo.
The logo?
That logo is so strange because it's always been like a kind of logo, but they've never worn it. So I like it. A little unique flair to it. But it's great that everyone was all rocking the same shirts and they had your name on it too and everything. That's amazing, man. So, hey, there's going to be lots more of those moments to come, because didn't your brother bail on it? What's going on with that?
My brother?
Yeah, he wasn't there, was he?
No, he's playing in the USHL and Sioux Falls, so he couldn't make it.
Was there some beef that he chose a different NCHC school? He's going to Denver, right?
He was going to Denver. He's actually looking at other schools now because they kind of had falling apart. So he's he's kind of looking at other schools now. But
anyways, awesome family, and you guys are doing great things in your hockey career, and we can't wait to see a game in, game out with the Ottawa Senators. Jacob, really appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate you guys.
Stick taps to JBD for joining us. Awesome chat with him, and he's got a very bright future ahead, Pillsy. Now, before we get to the immediate future for the Ottawa Senators, I think you've got a word from one of our oldest and favorite sponsors.
Absolutely. Before I get into this, Rosso, I want to make a quick note that everyone knows about. Jacob Bernard Docker, stand-up guy. Like we talked about, we were supposed to interview him a couple weeks ago, or last week or whatever it was. He gets a stick in the mouth, basically needs his whole mouth reconstructed, has massive dental issues, and we're like, okay, obviously he's not going to come on the podcast tomorrow. So we just let that one sit. And he was the one who reached out to us being like, hey, you guys still want to do this? Like, I still want to come on and chat with you. So he could have just left it alone and been like, whatever. But he made sure to reach back and to come on the show. So just want to give him stick taps for that, because he didn't have to do that, and not a lot of other people do that. So that definitely was a nice moment. And speaking of nice moments, this show doesn't happen without great sponsors like Rock Auto. You guys, if you've been listeners for a while, you know all about Rock Auto. With the increasing numbers of makes, models, it's impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. I mean, with COVID, with things going on with truckers, shipping is not exactly what it used to be. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX or a ZY or a 1359 or whatever? If you're not a car person, it can be intimidating going to these shops and you don't know what they're trying to sell you. So why not handle it yourself at rockauto.com? Everything can be done in a few easy clicks with rockauto.com. Save time and money when you use Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Don't do it. Rock Auto is a family business, so you know they're looking out for you. They're serving do-it-yourselfers for over 2 decades. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every single customer. They've got everything you need. You need brake parts, you need tail lamps, you need motor oil, or if you need a new carpet because you spilled a milkshake all over it, or there's mud, all this slush going on, Rock Auto's got you covered. So go explore their easy-to-use website and find a solution to your auto parts needs. Guys, head to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car or truck will ever need. It's rockauto.com.
And you can advertise with the Locked On Podcast Network. Just shoot us a DM on Twitter at SendCentral, on Instagram, lockedon.senators, or through our YouTube page, which is free and available. We would love if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It goes a long way for us. And if you do, you can join us tonight in the postcast. It's live after each and every game. You'll even get immediate boots on the ground reaction to Ridley Gregg tonight, who was just named Player of the Week in the WHL. Again, shocker. Guy had
any offensive upside with that, though?
I heard it's more will than skill. But if that's the case, this guy must have more will than any other player in the world, because he is putting on an offensive clinic in the WHL. Fired up to see that tonight with a few draft eligibles as well. Matthew Savoy and Connor Geekie, among others. Even 2023 pick Tyler Benson, a guy we're going to talk about next year a bunch. This kid is an absolute stud. So lots tonight in the postcast, and it's an Ottawa Senators game day, and it's a team that's 12-7-3 in their last 22 games. 12-7-3. That would be about a 100-point pace over an 82-game season. And I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm not saying any words. I'm not. I told you, if they beat Pittsburgh, beat Boston, and then go on the road and beat Washington, I'll say the word in context on Monday. It's
in
not
context.
There's no chance that they beat all three of these teams. However,
that'd be a 5-game winning streak too.
Yeah, which would be their longest in like a while. That all to say that if the Senators win tonight, they will jump over not one, but 2 teams ahead of them in the standings. They would jump over the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia Flyers, while maintaining 3 games in hand over Philadelphia and 4 games in hand over the New Jersey Devils. And they'd be 6th in the wild card race. Top 2 in the wild card race, move on. And then afterwards, it's all a crapshoot. However, that being said, it would look nice to be a little higher up in the standings than the Sens have been in a long time. Those poor starts in both back-to-back years, they're really causing them to stay at the bottom of the pack. Even last year, it took so long to move up. So from that standpoint, it would look a little bit better. But Pilsy, how do you think they accomplish that? What execution needs to happen for the Senators to get a win tonight?
Well, my key to victory tonight, and if any of you guys watched Pittsburgh's last game up against the Boston Bruins, we already talked about it a bit. Brad Marchand, he gets a little out of control, that's for sure. He was having a moment. And I think, look, Pittsburgh didn't really retaliate at all. I mean, sure, they just let it happen and he got a suspension and they got the win, so they get the last laugh, right? But I think if you're the Sens, try to stay getting under this team's skin. Like, try to keep them pissed off, because they're going to be running hot after that game. Now, obviously, I'm not saying do anything dirty or suspension worthy, but Zach Sanford, he likes to get under guy's skin. Alex Formenton, he can get a little chippy after the whistle too. And then, of course, Brady Tkachuk is going to be in the mix here. So I think if you can get them a little agitated, get them a little off their game, you can really send this team spiraling because they don't have anyone that can really answer the bell. I mean, maybe Mike Matheson, John Marino. I don't think about that. Story. Yeah. So there's not a whole lot that's going to be done if you really push this team to their limits. So I think, because I looked at all their stats, Ross, this team has amazing special teams. Their face-off wins are great. Like, there's not a lot of holes to poke in Mike Sullivan's Pittsburgh Penguins team here. So I think the best thing you can do is play a fast, hard, aggressive game and try to be a little bit annoying. Try to be some pricks out there.
A little pesky?
Yeah, try to get a little pesky out there.
A little pesky Sens game tonight? All right. Well, it's the season finale between the Sens and the Penguins. Ottawa 1-1 as they had that 6-3 victory way earlier on in the season. That one game, Batherson came back from protocol, had 3 points, and then got put back. That was their only win in November, was against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, if you were rewinding the clock way back that far, but more recently, it was in Pittsburgh, which has really just been a house of horrors for the Ottawa Senators over recent years. The Penguins won that one 6-4. Got chippy at the end, so we'll see if any of that comes across in tonight's game. But if you're the Ottawa Senators, it's just winning for Murr. Like, get a little extra in you, because if he plays well tonight, Matt Murray is all the way back. If he's able to sound out the noise and just make saves, sky's the limit. However, I'm not confident just yet. There you go. Pillsy said it before.
This is from months ago, and I got laughed out of the room by you and Aleem's Martian for saying this. So how's it looking now?
I'll tell you tomorrow how it's looking, because to me, my key to victory is Matt Murray. Simply, he has to be the best player on the ice tonight to give the Sens a chance. If I'm going to double down, I'll say Thomas Chabot. Let's see how he looks beside Nikita Zaitsev again, because
Sens Central bump.
Or, you know what? Now that I think about it, the Sens have last change. It's going to be Holden and Zub on Crosby.
Yep.
So let's see how those two can mitigate that risk. Because without Malkin, they're not the same team down the middle. They can't roll out two lines and really attack over and over again. So Holden and Zub, looking at them, and then I'm looking at Matt Murray in goal tonight. And I guess that rolls into my locked on players. We pull up the Senators' projected lines tonight. It's Matt Murray. It has to be. There's no question about it. We already discussed why at the start, so I won't spend too much time on that. But he can bring his season record to 6-6-2 tonight with a win. That would be completely fabricated if I told you that when he was 0-6-0 at the start of this season. So, hey, he needs it. He needs it. The team needs it. The fan base needs it. Let's see if he can do it. The Senators' projected lines from this morning's skate: Stützle, Tkachuk, Gaudette. Second line, Paul, Formenton, Connor Brown, Gambrell, Sanford, and Watson. Those guys will get a heavy dose of Sidney Crosby tonight, I would imagine. And then Mark Kastelik, Chris Tierney, and Tyler Ennis on defense. Chabot, Zaitsev, Holden, Zub, and Brandstrom with Josh Brown. Pillsy, before we get your locked on player, nice that there's some continuity in these lines now. We haven't seen that throughout the first part of the season. Nice to get some reps with the same guys.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the players would say the same thing, right? Like, obviously, when things aren't going well, you got to throw the lines in a blender and you got to try something new. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's tough to try to gain chemistry and build some momentum. So now that they've got some success, back-to-back wins, not a big deal. This team, this lineup can obviously be trusted. And all the way through, I think each line is clicking very nicely. So I love that DJ Smith has kept things together. And I think the players are stoked about it as well.
Yes, 100% there. So the tough matchup tonight is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They line up Crosby, Gensel, Rust, Jeff Carter, Jamie McGinn, Kasperi Kapanen, Rodriguez, Zahorna, Heinen, Boyle, Aston Reese, and Simon. The defensive pairs are Dumoulin and Letang, Pedersen and Marino, and Matheson and Ruhwedel. We're unsure the goalie. It's either Tristan Jarry or Casey DeSmith. The Penguins are 6-1-3 in their last 10 games. Their overall record sits at 28-11-8. Who are you looking out for in tonight's Penguins lineup?
Well, Ross, you mentioned no Evgeny Malkin, so your top two lines down the middle don't look the same, but don't count out Jeff Carter just yet. I know, maybe Sens fans, he was off in LA for a long time, so he's kind of out of your mind, but since coming to Pittsburgh, he's been a real good player. And you look at the face-off percentages. Ross, he's at a 57.25 face-off percentage success. So, like the Sens are going to have a tough time up against a veteran like that that's snapping them back in the faceoff dot. And before this little stretch of games, he was on a heater. Like he hasn't had any points in the last 5 games, but before that, he was getting like a point per game, some nights even 2 assists for a good stretch of a couple weeks. So I think this is a guy that, yes, you're happy Malkin's not there, but Jeff Carter is someone they need to worry about, and he's on a decent line with Brock McGinn and Kasperi Kapanen, so that line can do some damage if you give him the chance to.
Yeah, no question about that. My lookout player is going to be John Marino, not only because of the way that last game ended with him getting in his, I want to say, first career fight where he took on Brady Tkachuk, a guy who doesn't lose fights, but he's also a really important player for them. He's always playing over 20 minutes. His average is up over 21 minutes, and he's a good young defenseman, a Harvard kid. So I want to see if he's a little rattled between the ears after having big bad Brady Tkachuk going at him at the end of last game. He knows that truck is coming back tonight. So I want to see if he's a little panicked moving the puck behind his own net, because his partner is your classic defensive defenseman. Marcus Peterson is not going to be the guy carrying the puck up. So I want to see if Marino's moving it a little quicker than he would to try to avoid some big contact. So that's my lookout players, John Marino, in tonight's game. I like yours too. Jeff Carter, great player as well. Although many thought maybe a couple years ago he could have been on Team Canada's Olympic team with Eric Stahl, but he had a nice resurgence in his career. So Penguins, Senators tonight. We're looking forward to that one. We're looking forward to the postcast after the game. Hope you enjoyed our chat with Jacob Bernard Docker as well. A couple notes quickly before we go. Not only have the Montreal Canadiens fired Dominique Ducharme, Pilsy, this might be news to you. The Edmonton Oilers have just fired Dave Tippett as head coach as well.
Wow, that is news to me. Damn.
Yep. So Canadian teams making changes. A lot of movement up top. Marty St. Louis is the replacement in Montreal. Lilleem's Martian had some fun with his height behind the bench. I said, just stand behind number 22. He'll be able to see just fine.
Yeah, no kidding. And hey, if you're a Pee-wee coach in Edmonton, keep your phone on today. You might be getting a call to go up to the NHL.
I don't know who he is, but it's Jay Woodcroft is the new interim head coach there. And Dave Manson, Josh Manson's dad, old tough guy in the NHL, will be taking over as an assistant coach there. So the Senators go 2-0 against Edmonton, and all hell breaks loose. I don't think that's going to happen if they beat the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, as Mike Sullivan's done a pretty good job there as head coach.
Ross, we still need to give our locked on players though before we wrap up.
I said Matt Murray.
Matt Murray's yours. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll give mine. Eric Brandstrom. Look,
all right,
it's been tough with Nikita Zaitsev coming back and taking all those minutes with Chabot, but I think Brandstrom and Brown have been decent together, especially with Josh Brown really elevating his game here and becoming a solid third pair defenseman. Let's see if Eric Brandstrom can continue the momentum he had before the All-Star break and before Nikita Zaitsev came back, because it can't be stated enough how important this stretch is for Eric Brandstrom. And we all want him to succeed. Like when he's playing well, I think Sens fans collectively can see what this guy's made of, and they can see a future for him with the Ottawa Senators. So I'm going to be dialed in on him and make sure he's having a decent game here.
All right, we'll see you tonight in the postcast. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.